Hi guys, welcome back to Angular 2 sessions, and in this particular video we are going to talk about Angular 2 bindings. Uh, so as it was there into the predecessor of Angular 2, that is AngularJS, it was having something called one-way binding and two-way binding. So the same concept they also exist into Angular 2, but they have some syntactical difference, and then we are going to see the same over here. Like this is the same boilerplate which I'm using, which I've already created with you guys earlier. So if you can see over here, this is anything which is there inside, the interpolation. You can see these two curly braces. These are nothing but Angular interpolation. So anything between that which has been given is nothing but Angular expression, and it has been evaluated over here. So if you can see over here, I'm just printing out get message function. There is nothing but the public interface of the class hello world component, and you can see it is rendering over here. So it is nothing but the way you can say it is nothing but one-way binding which is happening you know over here. So if I can just change this with ES6 string format, so I can put it into another line. For example, if at all I want to have some image, right, and I just write down an image tag, and image tag has nothing but a source attribute, and source is nothing but going to be http there's be place hold is a website which we are going to hold, and I want an image of size 5 cross 5 500 cross 500. So moving ahead, I'll just just a second, 500. Yeah, this should be the correct way of showing that. Over here I'll just put a break, a BR. So let me see what happens over here. I guess okay, so over here you can see okay. Okay, so you can see there is nothing but an image which is I'm rendering over here into this particular image tag, but this can be also handled with Angular binding, and let us see how we can do it. Let me just put a public data member, and it would nothing but image URL, and which is going to be of type string, and I'm just going to copy this particular string over here. If you can, I've just put this particular string over here, and over here what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this particular public variable for binding, if you can see, but it is not going to be like that. So for any any, so this is nothing but a a binding which is happening to an attribute. So how we can do it, we can just put this particular attribute in the square bracket, which tells the Angular compiler this is going to be the source property which is going to be changing, and this is nothing going to be the binding with this particular public variable which has been declared over here with the remote URL of the particular image. So if I just go and refresh it, if you can see, still it is working. It is with respect to the binding which is happening, but actually it is not changing the attribute of the HTML, that is the image tag. Rather than that, it is working with the property of it. So attribute is nothing but something which is recognized by the DOM, that is nothing but the HTML, but the properties is something which is recognized by the JavaScript of the HTML. It is referring to, because at the end of the day, to access the DOM, nothing but JavaScript is something which we use, and properties are nothing but the keys of the object. So in JavaScript, the image is nothing going to be an object, and source is going to be the property. So we are not really working with the attribute of the HTML. We are binding the property to it. So, and rest of the things are taken care by the Angular binding. So let me just explain you the same concept with an example. So let me just put a input tag over here, and it is going to be of type nothing but text, and let me give it something called value, and my value is going to be Angular2. Cool. So let me see whether it gets rendered or not. So if when I refresh it, oh, still it is not. Okay. Okay, you can see there is Angular2. You can see there is Angular2 input tag which has been shown over here. So over here, if I just go and inspect it, go on the console, I clear this off. If I just go and say Angular0, okay, you can say it is nothing but the same. You can see it is getting highlighted over it when I hover over this particular DOM element. This is the input type, and over here I'll just go and say dot get attribute, and I want the attribute called nothing but value. So let me see what I get an answer. Okay, it is nothing but the Angular2 which has been really present over here. Over here, if I just say nothing but value, you can see again I'm getting something called Angular2. Let me see if I just change this to gm2, and let me see what value I get. Oh, so now there is something problem happening over here. Still, the attribute is nothing but the Angular2, which I was trying to explain you guys earlier. So value is nothing but the input at the time when the DOM was getting binded to the HTML. That's why it has remained the constant. But if I go and just see what is the $0 dot value over here, it should be nothing but the updated value. So actually, it is nothing but the same explanation for which I was trying to give you guys for the source. It is not just binding it to the attribute level, it is actually working with the properties of the object the way I have explained it over here. uh, so this is quite it's cool about Angular binding. Let us see some more example about something like class bindings and maybe style binding. Let me just clear this thing off. So please don't worry about the code, you'll get it into my GitHub. Okay, so I'll just remove this stuff over here and let me make it a clean slate. Cool. So it's there. So now over here what I am going to do is I want to create a custom style which is going to be applied to this particular component. So how to do it is nothing but over here I'll create a an array into which I'll write a string. So it is going to be nothing but this, a string. I've given it a string, and then I'll just create a class, and that is nothing but I'll denote it with nothing but dot. That is going to be dot is nothing but class in CSS. So it is nothing but my class, and my class is going to have something, a color called, for example, red. So that's cool. uh, Let me see if at all I have a paragraph over here, and I say that I'll just write I am a paragraph. Okay, I'm a paragraph over here. So okay, so over here I just need to evaluate a class property, and that is nothing but is going to be with a binding with class, and I want to apply a class which is there present into my HTML, that is nothing but my class. So I go and say my class, and it has to be evaluated with its right hand side for its truth condition. So over here I'll just write something called my class boolean. Okay, so what is this particular thing? So this is nothing going to be the binding which is going to be happen with the class, and which is nothing going to be the public interface, public data member. So I'll just go and write public dot my class boo, and I'll just say true over here. Okay, let me just refresh this particular page. So you can see I'm getting, if I just go and see over here in this particular thing, I can get a class which is there present into it, and it is having a class called my class over here, and that is with respect to the RHS and the truth condition. Over if I say it is nothing but a false, let me see what it happens. It would not apply that particular, it is not okay changing it up front. It is taking a bit of time. So you can see it is just remove that particular class. The same thing which we can also see with respect to nothing but style. So I'll just write something called a paragraph over here. I'll just go there, I'll write a paragraph, and I'll just write I am a paragraph styled by style binding. Okay, so now that's cool over here. Now I just want to do it in the same way we have applied class. I'll just go there, I'll say style dot nothing but a color, and this particular color, now there's going to be a right hand side. Over here it's nothing going to be an expression, and how I'm going to do is I'll just say my style bow. If at all it is going to be true, my color property is going to be nothing but red, or else it is going to be nothing but orange. And over here I'll just say something called public my st, just copy this particular thing over here, and I'll just say nothing but false. Cool, let me just refresh this. If you can see, I have kept it false. That's the reason it is taking my style.color as nothing but an orange. If I just go and inspect it, you can see there's a style which is color has been applied to it. If I put this particular boolean to nothing but true, so that is going to be having nothing but red as my, if you can see over here, it is nothing but red color has been applied over here. So this is all about the class and style bindings. Moving ahead, there is nothing but there are a lot of interaction which happens with their HTML, and those are nothing but the events, right? So just to have an event, I'll just go ahead and create. I just clear this thing off just for the sake of not jumbling up a lot of code over here. I'll just put a button. Cool. I'll just go a button over here. I'll just say nothing but gm toots, and then I'll at the same time I'll just put a br over here, clear, and I'll just put an input input tag which is going to be tyd type text. Okay, and it's going to be having a value called hello. Wow, so now it's super cool. So if you can see, whenever I need to handle a click event for this particular thing, so I'll just put a click event. I'll register a click event by typing this particular event registration with the round bracket. So this is nothing but click event, and right side of it is going to be the callback, which is going to be written inside your interface. So if you can see over here, I'll just go and write down button click handler. So I'll just say button click handler, and I'll just copy this particular thing. I'll just remove this stuff out. I'll just put it over here, and I'll just console.log whatever I am passing over here. Just pass some value. Now it is clear. If I just refresh the stuff, you can see, this, when I just tap on it, I'll just get this particular output. The reason I'm not passing anything over here, that's the reason I'm getting undefined. For example, I want an event to be passed. I'll just use nothing but $event. Once I refresh the stuff, if you can see, I get a mouse event over here. You can see it is getting over here. If at all you want something, some other event, if at all, so for example mouse over, I can just write mouse over. I'll just refresh the stuff, and you can see I'm getting a mouse over when I'm just hovering it over this particular button. I'll just clear this off. You can see 1 2. I'll get back to nothing but click, and I just go to click. Supposingly I just want to refer the value of this particular input. So Angular 2, we have a concept that is nothing but reference. By using some kind of the reference value, I can access that particular DOM and the value which is assigned to it. For example, I want to access this particular input tag, so I just give it a reference. Reference is given by hash, and it is nothing going to be, I just give the name of to that particular reference, and I just give it to be input ref. I just copy this thing off, and over here I'll just give input ref as an input, as an argument. So I just refresh it over here, and I just tap it. You can see I get entire reference of this particular input. You can see I can hover over it, and over here I can just say e dot nothing but value. I just go and refresh the stuff. When I say gm2, I get hello. If I just go and change anything, I get updated value over here. This is how the performance of Angular is really, it is going off. It is not always necessary for all the form elements. You have to do something like two-way binding or something. You can definitely achieve the same by this particular concept. Supposing you can directly go and evaluate the value over here, so you don't have to write the logic there. I just remove value over here, and I just pass it directly as an argument. When I refresh it, you can see again it is working the same. If I change it, it is working really great. And this is how Angular event binding works. Moving ahead, we are also going to talk about nothing but how are we going to achieve two-way binding over here. So let me just remove just remove the stuff out from here. I just remove it, and I just remove this particular thing. I just put down, okay, I'll just write two inputs over here. I'll just say input, and one is both of them are, one is going to be having a text type. Okay, and let me just put a PR here. I'll go down. I'll just go and copy this particular stuff, and over here I'm going to, it's great, I'll just put a break tag over here, which is already there, I'm sorry, and then I'm just going to say something like name. What is going to be there in this? So I want to create a two-way binding. So for two-way binding, I need to have some kind of public data member. So I'll just, you know, go and copy my public interfaces over here. If you can say, it is going to be, my first name is going to be John and my last name is going to be something called Doe. I just need to create ng model. So I'll just go in and write ng model, and my L right side is nothing going to be f name. Same thing like ng model, and my right side is going to be L name. Okay, ng model. So if you can see, ng model is nothing but it is going to be exactly going to be working as and click as an event. So I give it as a round bracket over here, and at the same time it is nothing but a property binding. So I have to also provide it under a square bracket. I have to repeat the same over here. I have to give it as a round bracket and then into a square bracket. But this is really not off into Angular 2. In your app module, at the same time, if you can go into your app module, you have, there is some, for any time if you want to, do a two-way binding into your Angular application, you need to tell your module that you're going to use some form modules from Angular forms, so that Angular comes to know that I have to be prepared for any two-way binding which is going to come my way. So how I'm going to do it, I'm just going to import nothing but from something from @Angular, and it is nothing but going to be forms, and from here I want to include something called form module, if you can see over here. And this particular thing, I have to import it into my module. So if I just go ahead and import this, I believe it should work now. Let me see if I just refresh it. Oh, you can see there are no error, and okay, one more thing I've missed. So now I just need to interpolate it over here, whatever value should be there. So I just say f name, and then I'll just say L name, and I just refresh the stuff over. You can see now it is John Doe. So once I change it, like whenever I start changing it, as it is two-way binding, it'll also change whenever I change this particular. So it has been assigned, the model has been assigned to it, and it is assigned directly to the text field, the form element. At the same time, whenever the view is getting changed, my model is also going to be having that particular change. So if I just go and say, or you can say it is changing, and I can just go and say anything but you can see. So now it is changed, and this is nothing but Angular two-way binding. So this is all about Angular 2 binding, and let us meet up for the next of the Angular topics ahead. Thanks a lot, guys.